What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good? Welcome to the Dynasty Overload podcast. I have my co-host Razman coming on the show shortly. I'm also streaming live on the Talking Sports with Manny IG page. Not only that, I'm also streaming on the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel, as well as a Talking Sports with Manny Facebook, as well as NFL Smack Talk group. We're also streaming on the Dynasty Overload podcast YouTube channel as well. I went blank for a minute. I'm sorry, guys. So this is the Week 6 Waiver Wire Show. So for those of you guys that are tuning in from all over, feel free to ask your questions. I said waiver wire. I am so sorry. That was a couple days ago. This is the episode for starts and sits, man. Got so much on my mind, man. Got so much on my mind. But we're gonna go ahead and get this show on and popping. Let's get it. So I did a quick little video on the TikTok page for Dynasty Overload talking about the Chicago Bears backfield. And they have a sweet, juicy matchup versus the Minnesota Vikings, right? Who do you start? Is it Dante Foreman? Is it Roshan Johnson if he's healthy? Khalil Herbert is out, right? So my take is this. If Roshan Johnson is healthy, to me, he's a must start versus that Vikings defense. If Roshan Johnson happens to be under 60% healthy, then you might want to go Foreman. But either way it goes, the Bears have been playing better. They will be playing that Vikings, and it's like that interdivision matchup type stuff. So it's going to be a good matchup between the two teams in terms of fantasy. So both guys could get love there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few starts and sits. And I'm going to kind of give you guys who I feel should be starting. We're going to start with the most important position in Superflex, which is quarterback. If not quarterback in Superflex, and even in one quarterback leagues, quarterbacks do matter because when you do play that right quarterback, right, it puts you on that trajectory towards winning. And we play fantasy to win, right? We don't play just to play, right? We play to win. Like my guy Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. You don't play just to play it. So there's some guys that are on bye week this week, right? So it's kind of like tough sometimes to fill your squads. We know Jordan Love is on bye, and a few other QBs here and there are on bye. Bye week started last week, so now things have changed. Things have leveled up for us as fantasy GMs, right? We now have to kind of maneuver and know who to start, who not to start. Now, this week, you have Joe Burrow, and he's going to be playing the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks have not been good in terms of coverage. We were thinking maybe last year, they got some corners here and there. They got a decent secondary, at least we were thinking. And then it hasn't really been what we were actually thinking, right? So things do happen. Sometimes things don't always go as according to plan. So Joe Burrow could be a pretty good piece for that squad. So we got Razman in the building. Let me go ahead and click him in. Welcome to the show, Razman.
What up? What up? What y'all got going tonight, Manny?
Man, not much, man. So I'm also streaming on the IG Live. So the IG Live, they're not going to be able to hear you, but it's all good. It's all good. They'll hear me at least. And I can navigate anybody who comes onto the IG to, hey, go ahead and hop on to the YouTube page. We're going to have fun with this thing. So Joe Burrow this week, Raz, are you starting him or are you sitting him?
Oh, let's go Burrow.
Do you know who they're playing?
I do not, but listen, I'm glad you asked that question. The reason I'm glad you asked that question is because I'm locked in on Burrow for the rest of the year. I think he's getting better. I think he's getting more healthy. I saw him moving around that last game. So yeah, so I think Burrow should start. You should start considering him an every week starter moving forward. That's what I believe.
For me, he got to show me 3 times in a row. I'm sorry. This is the most crucial parts of fantasy. From week 5 to 10, this is do or die. Are we going to make the playoffs or not? So for me to start Joe Burrow in my lineup, I got to see it 2 more times. I don't trust him. I don't trust his matchups.
You've seen it all these years, though.
All these years, I don't care. One of my teams is started 0-3. I don't care about no Burrow. I will bench anybody. I will drop anybody in redraft in order to get wins. It's all about getting wins. It's all about getting into the playoffs. Just like the Cincinnati Bengals are trying to get into the playoffs right now, and they're risking Joe Burrow's career and life, starting him and playing him through these injuries. Same thing I'm trying to do for my fantasy teams. If he's not healthy enough or if he's not producing, I don't care about all these years. Those years don't care about me. I'm trying to win every year. I'm trying to win this year. So for me, I got to see it. I get where you're coming from, but nah. I've trusted him too many times this year for him to continue to burn me and continue to get me L's. So, yeah, for me, it's a no. I'm not starting him. He does have a juicy matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks. I hope he plays well because I have plenty Jamar Chase all over the place. And, yeah, like I said, I'm hoping that he does well for me. Trevor Lawrence, is it a start or sit for you versus Indianapolis Colts?
It's a start. Listen, Colts couldn't stop Tannehill. So not really anyway. So, yeah, it's a start. And listen, at some point, Lawrence is going to have to start being Trevor Lawrence, you know, and he's weird like that. Do we know if Zay Jones is still hurt or not? Because I do think that's a key.
I think he's still hurt, but I don't know if he's playing this week or not. I haven't seen anything about him playing this week. But, yeah, Zay Jones is a big part of what they do. But my favorite receiver in that group is Christian Kirk. I put out something on Twitter, and they went crazy. I said Christian Kirk is the number one receiver in that offense. I don't care what you have to say. And you might say, oh, he's not the number one, right? But he's giving me number one production. Calvin Ridley has done nothing. He had that one amazing first quarter in week 1. Then last week, he finally, by the grace of God, did something in London because I think he has family in London. So, yeah, he finally showed up for his family or something. Something happened. But for me, my statement is Christian Kirk is the number one wide receiver. What is your take on that?
I can't agree. I do think that if Zay Jones isn't on the field, then Christian Kirk becomes more of a focal point. I think Ridley's still getting back into the rhythm of things, but I do think that Zay Jones takes more pressure off of Ridley than Christian Kirk does because of the positions.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Never looked at it that way. It's also a start for me this week, Trevor Lawrence versus the Colts. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is not playing well this season at all. He's averaging 16.7 points per game. And he only has 5 touchdowns. So something has to give. He has to have a breakout game sooner or later. I know ETN saved his butt last week, but eventually the game will be in Trevor Lawrence's hand to either win or lose. One of the hottest QBs in all of fantasy football, Kirk Cousins, man, averaging a whopping 25.2 points per game this season. He has 1,498 yards, almost 1,500 yards, and he has 13 touchdowns and 4 picks. He might not be that QB that we all love in real life, but when it comes to fantasy, he is a fantasy genius. And are you starting Kirk Cousins this week versus the Chicago Bears?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, and I'm starting Addison, and I'm thinking about starting what's the guy named Osborne? Yeah. So yeah, I'm going in, and I'm liking Hockenson this week too. So yep. I think it's going to be a good time.
All right, I got a hot take for you before I give you my thoughts on the whole Vikings ordeal. TJ Hockenson will end the season as a tight end 1. Yes or no?
Okay, first I thought that was a statement, and then you turned it into a question. Will he be a tight end 1, like a top 12 tight end?
Mm-hmm. No, yes. Like look, number 1, numero uno, number 1 overall. That means he's going to outscore Kelsey. He's going to outscore Mark Andrews. He's going to outscore. Okay,
no, I think he'll be a top 5.
Who's your tight end 1?
Well,
oh, you don't have one. You just
okay. I mean, if we dead set on it right now, listen, Laporta has a claim. I'm gonna tell you somebody else. Mark Andrews, and then Kittle, and then Kelsey might creep back in there. So I think that's a lot of good competition for tight end.
Okay, the first guy you mentioned in Laporta, I'll say inexperience, might get him sooner or later. Yeah. I think you mentioned Kelsey. Can't trust him. The offense is different. Although he is the focal point of the offense, he's still going to get the targets. But it's like that ankle, that Taylor Swift, it's just too much going on with Kelsey. So he might be drunken on Taylor Swift. And then we go to Mark Andrews, inconsistency. Just not from him, but his quarterback, who happens to be a running back. So you look at that, you're like, Kittle, that's pretty interesting because that dude could end up with 15, 16 touchdowns.
Absolutely.
The way Brock Purdy is slinging 3 passes, 3 targets, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, that's amazing. So I can, okay, Kittle, I'll give you that one. But yeah, I think with Jefferson being out, see, Jefferson is going to the IR. That means 4 games he's out, right? Not only that, there's a chance that Jefferson doesn't come back this season because this team is going to be so trash that you're going to look at Jefferson and say, he's more valuable than my so-called franchise QB, right? So Jefferson is their franchise player. So if there's a scenario where 4 weeks goes by and they lose all 4 and then they're talking about him coming back this week or that week, that just means more targets for Hockenson. Yes, Addison to the moon. Yes, Osborne, we're praying he can do something.
Right.
But I'm just staking my claim right now on Hockenson as tight end number 1 overall. We'll see how that pans out. But yes, start every Viking. I'm starting everybody, including Madison, and I think Madison sucks. So I'm starting everybody for the Vikings this week. Even in deep leagues, give me Brandon Powell. Like, the Bears are just so poop that the Commanders had 11 different receivers catch the ball. So it just takes one of these 2 guys or somebody getting a touchdown. Kirk will throw touchdowns. He will throw at least 3 touchdowns. And if you're lucky and start a Brandon Powell in the super deep league and he scores for you, that could potentially help you win your game, especially in 4 flex leagues. I'm going to give you a name, Brock Purdy. Starting him or not?
Absolutely. Brock Purdy's an every week starter right now.
Yep.
This guy's on fire. They can't stop that offense. So yeah, he's a starter. Let's go.
Man, I cannot believe how amazing Brock Purdy is. And I'm so sad that I have him nowhere. I have 0 shares of Brock Purdy, not even in Dynasty, not even in redraft. I just not a Brock Purdy guy. But when you look at the numbers, he has 1,271 passing yards. He has 11 touchdowns. And guess how many INTs he has?
0.
Boom, 0. And I mean, that's amazing for fantasy. He's averaging 23.4 points per game. That's slightly less than 2 from Kirk, who was tearing it up. So, man, Brock Purdy is a must start, virtual must start every single week. He's tearing it up, and he doesn't really put up a lot of yards per se, but when it comes to like touchdowns and actual real life football, he's a great real life football player. And if it wasn't because of the injury last year, would you say that the San Francisco 49ers get to the Super Bowl?
I think I think they have a great shot at it. I don't see how you can say they couldn't, but you could also say maybe inexperience, eventually got to them. But listen, they were rocking. They were doing this last year at that time. So,
right,
it's hard to say they couldn't.
Pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna give you. I got a few more names. I got a few more QBs. Gardner Minshew could be a super sleeper this week. For the season so far, 553 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns, 0 INTs. He's averaging a whopping 6.9 points per game in fantasy. But we know he's coming in relief. To come in relief and throw 553 yards is pretty good. Now, do you think he goes off versus the Jags? Do you think that's a good play, or you're like, nah, I'm gonna chill? What you think?
I'm starting him if I need. Listen, in Superflex, he's a starter because I think he's gonna be a top 20 quarterback. I think you can count him for at least 15 points.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, in leagues where you got Mac Jones and some of these guys are giving you 6 points, 15 comes in clutch,
Right.
I had a guy beg me for Baker Mayfield earlier. He had Mac Jones and another bum giving him 6 or 7 points a game.
Oh no. All right. I got another one for you. This is a player that has been pissing me off. I don't want anything to do with this player right here. I think he sucks. I have finally seen the light. If I've ever said that he was good, I want to apologize to everybody that I've ever lied to. Dak Prescott is ultra trash. Ultra trash. There's no more Dak Prescott as a top 10 dynasty. No, he is. I don't think Dak Prescott is a top 10 dynasty QB anymore.
He can't just be having an off year.
Let me give you these numbers. Now.
I know they're bad. I have them several places. It's
1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 INTs. And that's how many games? He's played what? 5 games?
He played all the games, I thought.
1 touchdown per game. I can't now. I'm sorry. At the ADP where we went and got Dak Prescott, we are all pissed right now. We are all pissed. Those people that have CeeDee Lamb, I have had people beg me to take CeeDee Lamb off their hands. This is CeeDee Lamb. Number 3 dynasty wide receiver. I tell people, these wide receivers that we think are so great, they're tied to the QBs. And if you have bad QB play, I don't care who you are. Jamar Chase, we saw him struggle this year. And Dak Prescott is playing the Chargers this week, right? The Chargers struggle with covering people. They're like they give up like they're like number 21 in yards given up. Other QBs are usually averaging around 18.9 points per game versus this team. But can you trust Dak Prescott? Are you starting him this week?
Versus the Chargers, yes. Because I think that could be a potential breakout game. If he does nothing against the Chargers, I think you have to start reevaluating on the year. You know, listen. I mean, last week, man, I started Dobbs over a couple of big name quarterbacks because it's kind of like I can't trust these guys, and so Dobbs got to start for me. You know, you have to do something.
I started Dobbs as well, and he wet the bed. Okay, Joe Burrow,
and that was a game. And that was a game.
And Joe Burrow went off. Trevor Lawrence did okay. I mean, everybody that I started this guy over did okay, except for Dak. When it came to Dak, I said, I know who you are, and I know you are not good, Dak. Your family has been lying to you for years, telling you that you're a good quarterback. And Dak, you are not. You are not good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next guy. Are you starting or sitting CJ Stroud this week?
Remind me who they're playing again.
Oh, they're playing the New Orleans Saints.
That's tough. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna roll with CJ because so far it's been all good. So I'll roll with CJ, but I'm not gonna lie, that's a tough matchup. If I had a great option there, maybe I would go over them. But if I don't have a great option, which you probably don't have a better option than CJ Stroud on your team, then you go from there. Yeah. So if I had a great option, and but I'm probably starting him.
I'm starting CJ in 2 leagues where I have no choice. And I'm praying that some guys come up through the waivers. So I can go ahead and start them over CJ. CJ this year has been perfect. 1,400 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, no INTs. He's averaging 20.5 points per game. But the potential score versus the New Orleans Saints could be 15.6. Potential. That's what, other QBs are doing versus this team in keeping quarterbacks away from scoring. But here's the thing. As good as CJ Stroud is, he's still a rookie, and the Saints defense is pretty good. They made Mac Jones look crazy. Yes, Mac Jones has been ultra trash this year, but at the end of the day, he's still a Bill Belichick coached team. So for me, it's I don't know. I'm just kind of hoping. But I will say this. The highest scoring player for the Houston Texans this week will be Ka'imi Fairbairn, or whatever his name is. That's the kicker you want to have. That's the guy that's going to be scoring a lot of points for these guys. It's going to be a low-scoring game because I think that the Texans have a pretty good defense as well, and this could be a potential shootout for the kickers. So start both kickers on both sides. Only start CJ Stroud if you have to. Deshaun Watson, what are you doing with him?
Watson got on a roll versus the Titans right before their bye week. So I'm hoping that he can ride that. So I'm starting Watson.
Okay. I am benching Watson versus the San Francisco 49ers. I am not starting him. They said he has a shoulder injury. He's still giving them problems. They're not even sure he's going to play. And
I am now sitting Watson. I didn't know all this information before you said it.
Yeah, man, he has an AC joint or something. He has something crazy going on, right? To where PJ Walker will be the starter this week if Deshaun Watson is unavailable. They tried out that rookie. I don't even know his name. He has like 4 different names. And something Thompson, whatever. He was ultra trash. So they went and brought up PJ Walker, man. They said, look, PJ, we need you, man, because Deshaun Watson might not play this week. And you're playing against San Francisco. When Joey Bosa sees Deshaun Watson, he's going to break that other shoulder. And this guy will be walking with no shoulder. So I don't think he plays. And even if he plays, I think he's going to underperform. Russell Wilson, start us it.
Russ, I'm starting Russ every week. I think Russ is good this year. I think Russ is a lot better than what people think, and I don't think that Chiefs defense is that great. So I'm starting Russ.
Okay, I disagree. I am starting Russ. I do think the Chiefs defense is great, but Russ is a virtual must start every single week. He is the QB8 right now in fantasy football, and he's tearing it up, man, averaging 23.6 points per game. Let's cook. He's a great fantasy quarterback like Kirk Cousins, but in real life, man, he's not the reason why they're winning or losing. He's just putting up numbers. And in fantasy,
the defense
is care about.
The defense is why they're losing. Their defense can't stop anybody.
You can say that. You can say that.
Did you see Bart Starr? The game they played the other day. I mean, Justin Fields. The game they played the other day.
I mean, did you see Sam Howell versus them? I mean, everybody goes off versus the Broncos. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Russ isn't necessarily the reason why they would win games. Like I've seen Russ play this year. Although he's playing well, he's not playing at a elite level. Like he's not elevating anybody. Nobody's getting better around this guy. Like Jerry Jeudy's worse. Yes, he's been hurt. I mean, he got the only person I can say that he has elevated their game is that young undrafted rookie, Jaleel McLaughlin or something like that. Other than that, I've not really seen like how CJ Stroud is making guys. I've not seen that fire out of Russ. He scares nobody. He comes out there, he's gonna throw a couple bombs, but there's nothing that Russ is doing that's special because the Commanders' defense is trash, and Russ didn't scare us. He didn't scare us. He had a little lucky Hail Mary and a couple bombs to Mims. We saw Russ and laughed. Ha, ha, ha. That guy doesn't scare nobody. But this is fantasy. These are points, and he is a beast this year, and he's going to continue to be a top 8 QB the entire year. You can say, oh, because this guy's down, that guy's down. Everybody's always down. People always get hurt. People got to respect Russ. Russ is still a good quarterback overall, but I don't think that we're getting that Russell magic that we're used to having. I got two more for you. We have Sam Howell. Are you starting him versus the Atlanta Falcons this week?
Absolutely.
Me too.
I'm a Sam fan, and I think that Sam is listen, Sam can't be stopped out there. I mean, listen, he's gonna get points. However he gets them, he's gonna go out there and get points, even if it's at the end of the game and he's just out there winging it. Sam's gonna put some points up. I like Sam.
Yeah, Sam is similar to Russell. Both teams are trash. The defense is trash for the Commanders. They can't stop anybody right now. So it makes Sam throw the ball. He threw the ball like over 50-something times last week, and he almost had close to 450 yards had he kept going. That's just how crazy it was. He ended up with like 388 and 2 touchdowns or so. This year, he has 1,300 yards plus passing, 7 touchdowns, 6 INTs. 4 of those INTs or 3 of those INTs came in that Buffalo Bills game. I think it was 4. So overall, Sam has looked really good. He's averaging 18.8 points per game. He's a virtual must start. He's going to be a borderline QB 12 this year. I mean, he's good. He's good in terms of producing points. He's getting like 21.6 points per game, 3 of his last 4 games. So start Sam, man. Jared Goff, this is an interesting one. He's playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, they do a pretty good job versus QBs. But on the flip side, Goff is averaging 22.4 points per game. He has Jameson Williams back. Everybody's happy. This offense is buzzing. Sam Laporta is doing his thing. Are you starting Jared Goff this week versus the tough Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense?
See, I think Jared Goff is hit and miss to me because he either has a big game or he has a very mid game. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to start on your, be about your options. So guys, I've been really talking about start sits from a super flex point of view. Honestly, if I'm not in super flex, I'm probably not starting Jared Goff here. In super flex, he's a start. Yep. If in a 10-man, he's not. So right. That's me.
And if you have to start him, you're crazy, or your team just sucks. Your team sucks in a 12-man, and you got to start Jared Goff. Ooh wee! Man, that's bad. Are you starting Matthew Stafford this week versus the Arizona Cardinals? On the year, he has 1,400 plus yards. He has 5 touchdowns, 5 INTs, averaging 16.5 points per game. But he has Cooper Kupp back, and he has the superstar, the guy that I told you guys about, Puka Nacua, as his number 2. And then he has the awesome Tutu Atwell, your guy, as a number 3. Do you think he balls out this week versus the Arizona Cardinals?
Once again, in Superflex, I'm probably going to give him a start because I want to see what can happen with that trio. And I'm also happy that they got rid of Jefferson. And because I think Jefferson was just in the way and just taking targets and not doing anything with them. So now you have your 3 receivers solidified, the guys that are actually doing something and making things happen. So I want to start him in Superflex just to see what happens. But if you have better options, start them over him. But if you're like me in some of these leagues and your second QB is a little questionable, then give me Stafford.
All right. So let's have a quick little debate. It might even be a debate. If you agree with me, then hey, I'm gonna leave you alone. We go on to the next topic. I put up these things on Twitter to kind of ruffle feathers, but a lot of times I be speaking my mind. I said that the Rams have the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL. Do you agree or disagree? If you disagree, give me a trio that's better than the Rams.
Okay, let's come back to that. Give me a few minutes to think on it. Let's circle back around.
Right, because I mean, there's guys that you can think of that you can say, oh, like I mean, I was thinking of guys like
off the top, Seattle maybe,
but JSN has done nothing, so I don't trust him. I don't even know if he's an NFL caliber player. I'm just being real. Second, you can say Cincinnati. Cincinnati has a nice trio, but Tyler Boyd, are you really good, or are like what's going on? T. Higgins has missed 2 games, and we can't find you. We can't find you, Tyler. We can't, right? Then you look at Minnesota, right? They're pretty nice. But Osborne, come on, man. We haven't seen you this season. We saw you last season, but this season we haven't seen you. But then in the same token, we haven't seen this trio for the Rams play but 1 game. So it's kind of like it's all over the place. Dallas, who's their number 2 and 3?
You got Cooks and Gallup.
Man, those guys are trash. Come on, you got to do better than that. I mean, I won't even be mad at you had you said Washington. We know their track record, but this year that group hasn't come together at all.
Tampa Bay.
Okay, I'll give you Tampa Bay. You can say Godwin, Evans, and whoever else as the third. You can say that, and I can say, you know what? I'm with you. But when you say Dallas, oh man, I thought you really had something good, man. You telling me?
I'll give you. Hold on. Here we go. The Chargers.
Okay, who's their third?
It's gonna be the guy from Tennessee.
Palmer. Okay,
Palmer. Yep.
Then, are we counting Mike Williams or no?
We're counting Mike Williams.
Okay. Then I can kind of respect that just a little bit. I can respect that just a little bit. That's not bad at all. That's pretty good. So yeah, there's some pretty good trios out there, but we both can agree that the Rams trio is pretty good. See, I think that Puka has a chance to be a star in this. He's already a star in this league. He's a superstar. He's put up the numbers. Even with Cooper Kupp coming in, he had 7 catches, 70 yards, and a score. Like he is going to be a star. And in that pass happy offense, you can say, oh, it's the offense. Okay. We've seen people go to good offenses and produce nothing. This guy is producing record-breaking numbers. He leads the NFL right now in receptions. He's number 2 in the NFL in yards. So I make my case for Puka and I can say Puka could be Cooper Kupp 2.0 or a light version of Cooper Kupp. And even if he's a light version of Cooper Kupp, you know how good of a player that is? Just off of just projecting. So I love that offense. It's like Puka ain't fast. Cooper Kupp ain't fast, but guess what? These guys run precise routes and have great hands. And they're going to get a lot of yards.
If Claypool does anything in Miami, they might have something to say.
Ooh. See, now you're talking my language. Yeah, there are other trios that are pretty good. Really, you can say Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and whoever. You know, when you put that together in a group, but see, you try to do that for Dallas, and it just didn't work out. It was like you have a group of people in school, right? And we get an A on the assignment, but it was really CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb did all the work. And
if a tight end can count as a third receiver, then I think you can consider Philly and a couple other guys.
Oh, if a tight end is considered, man, you can consider everybody. You can even say Logan Thomas with the command. You can say Hawkinson with whoever
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Vikings.
yeah.
So I mean, you can, bruh, you're gonna laugh at this one. If tight ends could be involved, you can say Kelsey and whoever with Kelsey is David Ruffin, and they are the Temptations. It don't even matter,
bro.
Rashee Rice and Tito Jackson and all these dudes in the background doing all this. You know what I'm saying? Just happy to be part of the group. But yeah, I think the Kansas City Chiefs got the worst receiving core I've ever seen in my life, man. It's pretty bad out there. Them and the Giants are tied for the worst of all time. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into the RBs. Isaiah Pacheco. I remember us watching the game, cooked up some burgers week 1, that Thursday night game, and Pacheco was going off, man. This dude was running crazy. And you look at it, you know how many fantasy points he had? Probably like 5.
How many? Hey, the craziest thing about him is he be running so hard and don't be going nowhere. Listen, his dreads be going everywhere. His body be doing all this other stuff. It seems like he's running really fast and really hard. He's not going anywhere. It always throws me off because I'm like, where's the points at, bro?
Right. So let's go ahead and dive into the running backs. I know you don't have a lot of time left, but yeah, the show will continue. So Isaiah Pacheco, he's playing Denver. Okay, that's the silver lining. Pacheco, Denver. Right now, Pacheco has 325 yards rushing. He has 99 yards receiving, which is the element of his game that has improved vastly this year. He has 3 touchdowns on the season. He's averaging 14.3 points a game, and he's playing Denver. Are you starting him? Yes or no?
I am starting him. And listen, he's not getting you more than 15 points. If he gets you more than 15, if he gets you 15 points, pray. I mean, this guy is a consistent 11, man. Consistent 11.
Man, he had that one game this year that was a breakout game. And the funny thing is he broke out, and I can't even remember those stats, but he went off that one game where he saved Mahomes. But I mean, he's so random, man. He's random. There's too much going on out there. Isaiah McKinnon. It's just, I mean, Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could pop up out of nowhere. I don't trust that backfield, but if I have to start him, I'll start him. I have 0 shares of Pacheco. Just one of those guys that's not the one of my guys. Alexander Mattison playing the Bears this week. The Bears give up like the most points almost to RBs. Them in Denver are twins. They're like that Spider-Man GIF. They're just pointing at point like, hey, you look like me. Hey, but Alexander Mattison, he's played well the last couple games. And I mean, Brian Robinson did do a pretty good job versus the Bears, right? Are we starting Alexander Mattison this week?
I'm starting him because I think, especially with Jefferson out, who they throwing the ball to? I mean, like even when they get down low, I think they're gonna just trying to force the ball in with Madison. So I think I'm starting him.
All right, good deal. So we have ASDAFG Hop in the building. Appreciate you for hopping on the stream. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. He's asking, hey guys, who do you like better, Palmer, JSN, or Tank Dell? I'm gonna let you go first, Razman.
If we're talking this year, give me Tank Dell. If we're talking fantasy, I was probably still give me Tank Dell right now. I mean, but JSN is probably the guy with the most potential or the highest ceiling there. But definitely Tank Dell right now because Palmer's been in the league for a while. He's had opportunities, and we haven't seen him turn those opportunities into a lot of production. Just remember last year, both guys was hurt, but both top receivers were hurt. Palmer had a chance to explode, and he didn't do it. So give me Tank Dell.
All right. He says it's redraft and it's full PPR. Give me Tank Dell as well. I mean, it doesn't make so much sense. Tank Dell is him. Tank Dell, full PPR. I mean, it just is what it is. JSN is a throwaway right now, and Palmer, he's a jag. I can't even trust him. He has opportunity, and he's done absolutely nothing with his opportunities. Moving on along, we got James Cook, and He's been one of those guys that's kind of been up and down. He's averaging 12.7 points per game, 292 yards rushing this season, 14 receptions for 140 yards and 1 score. He is playing the Giants. The Giants are pretty bad. I can see a scenario where the Bills go up big and just run the ball and just kill the clock. James Cook could be a good play. I'm starting him. Are you, Razman?
I'm starting James Cook if I'm in a tough spot. I don't want to, like, even against the Giants defense. I'm not really, but they got other guys. Murray's getting in and getting playing time. So, I mean, at this point, I mean, only in a tough spot.
Mm-hmm. ASD makes a pretty good point. He goes, I mean, JSN is the worst of them. Absolutely. He also goes on to say, and Palmer has the best QB out of the 3. Absolutely. And then he goes on to say, lastly, but I think Tank is getting more targets. Not only is he getting more targets, he's getting more explosive plays. He's getting more touchdowns. He's getting more of everything. Like, if he was Santa Claus, he's giving out gifts everywhere. I mean, Tank Dell is the gift that continues to continue to give. ASD also is asking, do you guys think if Tank plays, he's the starter over Godwin? Give me Godwin over Tank. What do you say, Raz?
So I was trying to go and see who Okay, Tampa's playing. Okay, give me Godwin. Tampa playing Detroit. Give me Godwin over Tank. That would be hard to take Tank over Godwin there.
Yeah, I mean Godwin is him, and he balled out last week. Well, his last time that he played, I think they had a bye week last week, but yeah, Godwin has arrived, and Godwin's going to be great the rest of the way. He's going to be the guy that steals a lot of the targets from Mike Evans. So give me Godwin the rest of the season. Yeah, Godwin definitely over Tank Dell. Raz, let's go over a few more before you got to go. We got to talk about this one right here. Zach Moss. Me and you was talking about Zach Moss, and I told you Zach Moss is going to be that guy that's going to come out, and he's going to produce. And we talked about it, and you said, oh, Zach Moss sucks. Zach Moss is this, that. And I said, look, man, when I saw 30 carries, like not a lot of guys get 30 carries. A lot of guys, have you seen the episode of Martin when Martin was in the ring and he was fighting, and then he comes out of the room and he has like bumps all over his face and he's walking? He says,
when he fought Tommy Hearns.
Yeah, he's like, Gina, I don't want to fight no more. And that's what a lot of these backs look like when they get 30 carries in today's soft NFL. Backs are not made the same anymore. So Zach Moss versus your Titans went off, man. Like, I mean, I was like, wow. And that Titans defense is pretty good. They are pretty good when it comes to stopping the run. And this was a game where Jonathan Taylor's coming back for the first time, and a lot of us are forced to remove him from the IR, and we're thinking, what do we do with Jonathan Taylor? The smart thing to do is not to start Jonathan Taylor, but I think 90% of America started Jonathan Taylor. A lot of us
it's because of the contract. So I wasn't going to start him, and then when I saw the contract, I was like, "Oh, he got to be a starter because apparently this guy is a baller now." You know, they paid him like he was going to go out there and do what Zach Moss did. That's what the contract told me. They lied to me. Listen, listen. The Colts and Jonathan Taylor lied to all of us with that contract.
Man, bro, that is so funny, man. But yeah, he went out there, balled out. I mean, he had a monster game. For the season, he has 445 yards rushing. He has 8 receptions for 72 yards. He has 4 scores. He's averaging a whopping 21.4 points per game. Even if Jonathan Taylor does play this year, which he will, I mean, obviously, they paid him. You play to win the game. Right? You have paid him to play. But what's going to happen is you cannot ignore Zach Moss. He's going nowhere. Jonathan Taylor's going to be fine, but I mean, Moss has earned himself 10 touches while you get 20 touches to Jonathan Taylor. That's kind of how you have to play, especially with Gardner Minshew. You just have to run the ball, switch to a running team, play some good defense, kill the clock, control the tempo. Are you starting Moss this week?
I would. If I had Moss, and I don't have him anywhere, I gave him away. If I had Moss, I would start him. I definitely think over the next 4 to 5 games that they're going to be heavy dose and running. I do think if Jonathan Taylor is healthy and he starts to look like old Jonathan Taylor, he's going to be the lead back probably at the end of this 4 or 5 games. He's going to be the guy. And then Zach Moss is going to be relegated back to 5 to 10 touches a week.
Mm-hmm. I will say this. Here's a hot take, and I could be totally wrong. And it's kind of like easy to do a hot take now that we've seen Zach Moss. My hot take is that Zach Moss ends with 1,000 yards rushing this year. Like, I just don't know how you can ignore this guy. I know he's a handcuff now, and I know you have paid Jonathan Taylor big money. But guess what? Teams who have paid guys big money, guess what they do? They protect the back now. Guess what? They're going to limit Jonathan Taylor's touches. See, when you have that rookie contract, they run you to kill you. These guys die, okay? They run you to the ground and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to pay you, man. You suck. Your knees are done. But look at Christian McCaffrey. That first year when they traded for that guy, it was a three-headed running back. I mean, they had Elijah Mitchell getting the same kind of touches that McCaffrey was getting. Isn't that insane that when they pay these guys, they limit their touches, they protect their asset, at least for those first 2 years?
Well, yeah, they're protecting their asset, and you saying that he gets 1,000 yards isn't saying much because he's already at almost his career high at 445 yards rushing. So I mean, they have what, like 12 more games or something like that to get the rest of them. So yeah, I mean, he's probably going to get that 1,000.
But you're saying he's going to go down to 5 touches.
I think he's going to fade out. I definitely do. He might still luck into having 1,000 yards. It might be crazy because they might have 2,000-yard rushers by the time this year ends, depending on Jonathan Taylor's health. I just think that offensive line is a better rushing offensive line than we all thought they were.
Yeah, I agree. So ASD has one more question. He says, thoughts on trade that just happened in my league. CeeDee Lamb for Ertz and Kenneth Walker. What you think?
No.
I mean, it's already happened. So whether you saying no or not.
It's a trash trade. I wouldn't have done it.
Okay.
Oh, but I'm forgetting. This is redraft.
Redraft. Yeah.
This is redraft.
I
and redraft, maybe so. Yeah, maybe
I love it. I mean, give me.
I'm thinking dynasty. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is redraft. So yeah, maybe so. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I love the trade. Like, if I had receivers, in redraft, you have a bunch of receivers, and it's hard to get running backs in redraft. I don't care what anybody says. I'm out here scavenging for backs right now, and I can't find anybody. I'm starting the Bears third stringer and the Arizona's third stringer guys this week. That's how tough it is. If I had CeeDee Lamb and I had a bunch of other guys, man, I would gladly give CeeDee Lamb away to get Ertz, who's been a nice tight end 1 this year so far, and Kenneth Walker, who is a top 3, top 5 back right now in fantasy overall. So yeah, I like it. I like it for the Ertz and Kenneth Walker guy. The CeeDee Lamb guy, I don't know what he's thinking. Do you even trust Dak Prescott? I can't. He says the CD guy already has Chase and Waddle. I get what he's
thinking championship. He's trying to secure that chip. How many wins does he have? However you say your name.
ASD. I just call him ASD. He says the guy has Chase and Waddle already. Let me tell you guys what Chase and Waddle did for me in my redraft league so far this year. I started out 0-3. Chase didn't do nothing. Waddle, I can't find him. So and then CeeDee Lamb has not been great because Dak hasn't been great. So with all that being said, we know what these 3 guys bring to the table. They're going to have big weeks like where Chase goes off and that single-handedly wins you your week. But then they're going to have weeks where, man, you're like, man, can I get better quarterback play or we're running the ball too much. So ASD says, and his RBs are the Titans guys. Razman is a Titans fan. He's a big Titans guy. So he has Henry and Spears. I get it.
Spears is good.
I'm a 0 RB guy, so I get what he's doing. But, man, you better hope and pray that CeeDee Lamb steps it up because Kenneth Walker's for real, man. He's for real. His record right now is 4-1.
Good trade.
Yeah.
Good trade for him. By
the end of, let's say, week 8, this guy is going to be 4-4, man. It's going to be 4-4. And
no. This guy's gonna be a powerhouse at the end of the year.
At the end of the year, I mean, I'm not saying he's not gonna make. Look, I'm not saying he's gonna miss the playoffs. I'm just saying he's gonna go through a rough stretch where
I wouldn't do the 2 Tennessee running backs and that's it though. I mean, you got to get you another running back.
I'm just saying, man, he's wild. He plays like me, man. Hey, stick anybody in the RB spot because I mean, one of my teams right now, I have Chase, I have Waddle, I have Godwin, I have Terry. I'm seeing all these guys in the waivers like Tank Dell and all these different guys, and I'm not touching any of them because I have these 4 wide receivers, and I'm looking for RBs, and nobody wants to drop any. I'm searching for running backs, and I can't find any. So I kind of get it. ASD says I actually lost to him because Evans had 30 points that week. He has Evans too. Wow. Why did you trade?
You guys balling.
But why did you trade for CeeDee Lamb? You got Evans. I don't get it. But hey. Go Titans running backs, man. But yeah, we got a few more Guys to go over. Oh, he traded away Evans for Waddle. Okay, that's solid. I can
That's
kind of see.
rough though,
Yeah,
because
super rough.
yeah, that's rough. I would have kept Evans.
I would have kept Evans. What a way, man! I'm telling you, this guy's gonna end up being 4-4.
Now,
in the few
now
weeks.
it's starting to sound bad.
Yep. All right. So one of the top names of the waiver wires yesterday was Imari Demercado. All right.
Who?
Exactly.
I'm
He's a
playing.
third string guy. He's 5'9". He's a jag, but guess what? He's getting opportunities. He's gonna get opportunities in that Cardinals offense, being that James Conner is gone. He's on IR, and he's gonna be a guy that could potentially catch some passes here and there. My whole thing with him is Kentonia Ingram didn't die. Kentonia Ingram is still out there, and folks are spending all their fab on this guy. And I'm like, ooh, me. This is crazy. So are you starting this guy this week?
Me, no, not at all. I have to see it first.
Yeah, for me, unfortunately, yes. I'm desperate. Everywhere I got this guy, I'm desperate, man. All my backs are hurt, like Khalil Herbert, or I got guys on bye weeks, or something's crazy has happened to me to where I have to start this guy. He's going against Aaron Donald in that middle. I don't think he does anything, but if he's able to catch just 4 passes, I have a chance of getting 10 points out of this guy. And that's what all I really crave for is when I'm playing the 0 RB strategy. That's where I don't really care who my RB is. I stick in anybody, whether I drafted them, whether I got them off of waiver. And then that's that. I'm going to give you 2 names at a time now. Ramondre Stevenson and Tajay Spears.
One is trash. The other one, Spears' arrow's pointing up. I think he's going to end up getting more touches than Derrick Henry moving forward in the year.
All right, let me see. ASD says, bruh, I have the complete opposite situation with my RBs. I got Saquon, Brees, Kamara, JT, and nobody wants them. Yeah, because these guys are expensive to get. Like, you're not about to just trade these guys for nothing. You're going to want premium assets or guys for premier RBs. And that's the disadvantage of having 4 good RBs and you can only start 3. So next year, you kind of want to balance your team out. But the good thing is that these running backs fall like flies. So trust me, you will get a chance to use all your backs this year. Ramondre Stevenson is a no for me. Tajay Spears is a yes in deep leagues, flex leagues. Here's a sneaky pickup. Here's a guy that nobody's talking about right now, and that's Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson is back. Devon Achane is out. Raheem Mostert, I don't trust him. He got like 2 more games in those knees, and he's out. He's just going to bow out. He's going to say, Lord, take me now. He's about to be out, okay? Jeff Wilson, Razman, I know you got to go at any moment. It's all good. For me, Jeff Wilson has a chance to put up monster numbers in that Miami Dolphins offense. If they are telling me that Jeff Wilson is active, I know you're not supposed to start somebody right off of the IR, and I'm starting him, okay? Because I've seen guys that are not good. I've seen bums come out with this Miami Dolphins offense and produce. Are you starting him, yes or no?
No, I like Ahmed over Jeff Wilson. So
ASD says, I just saw the guy getting Ertz as Hawkinson. Man, I don't know what's going on, man. He says, were they high? I don't know, man. People just trade just to trade, and it makes no sense. Andrew, what's good, man? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Andrew says, 32-man league, full PPR. This guy offered me $600 in free agent money, which is a lot, okay, for Kentonia Ingram. Do you see anything in Kentonia Ingram?
Sell Kentonia Ingram right now. Take the money. Take the money. Take the money.
Hey, Andrew, here's what I want you to do.
Take the money.
I want you to get on TikTok and just check out Dynasty Overload on TikTok. Please, everybody who's watching right now, check out the TikTok Dynasty Overload. We drop a lot of nuggets there, and I talk a little bit more in-depth on Kentonia Ingram as well as Demercado and anybody they have. But Kentonia Ingram, just a big back that hasn't done anything. But opportunity means everything. So let's see what he does. If he cannot beat out this undrafted guy in Demercado, then you'll know that he's a bum. But I would definitely take it because 32-man league, $600 free agency money, take the deal, run with it, go to the bank, laugh at this guy for years to come. Quinn, what's good? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. Quinn says, trade T. Higgins and Khalil Herbert for Ridley. What do you say, Raz?
That's rough. Right off, I'm gonna say no. Right off, I'm gonna say no. If I think about it a little bit, maybe, but right off, I'm gonna say no
Yeah, I'm
because
gonna
I
say
know
no as
what I
well.
got in Higgins.
Yep.
So
Hey, Higgins, Ridley, they're literally the same. They both are inconsistent, but when they go off, and we know who has the better quarterback. We know who has the superior quarterback. The thing with Higgins is that, man, he got a Jamar Chase there, right? But the thing with Ridley is that he has a Kirk, and Ridley is better than Kirk, right? But with that being said, Khalil Herbert is that wild card. When he plays and he's getting, the last 2 games, Khalil Herbert looks great. But what's about to happen to Khalil Herbert? I talked about this on the TikTok, a Dynasty Overload TikTok, is that what's his name is coming? Roshan Johnson is coming. And if he clears concussion protocol, this will be the breakout game for Roshan Johnson.
Hey, Manny, I have an amendment.
Okay.
So if this is redraft, I'm taking a deal. If it's dynasty, I'm not. That's where I'm gonna be at because I do think that Higgins might have a lingering injury, and I think that that Ridley, I would like Ridley more in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if Higgins' injury issue is lingering, Khalil Herbert's injury issue is lingering, I would then like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
if it's redraft, give me Ridley.
A lot of the guys that are going to come on the show and come on the stream, they're going to be redraft. Like, Dynasty is still new for a lot of folks, and redraft is really what's hot. Start sits is, redraft. Waiver wires is really redraft that enjoys these waiver wires. If I didn't play in any redraft leagues, all these waiver wire stuff, the real Dynasty folks already got those guys, on their squad. So
that Arizona back was he was everywhere in Dynasty though.
I was getting him for free. That's just how bad the situation is. This is 3rd string guy. So in Dynasty, I advise people to have 3rd string backs on your roster, stashed away, because injuries do happen. And once the top guy goes down, that 3rd string guy automatically becomes a potential number 2. And most times those potential number 2s end up becoming potential number 1s and things of that nature. For those of you guys that are watching, and if you're watching off of the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel, there is a membership. If you want to join the membership, where you have access to us 24/7, we have a chat, and we have these different things where we can collab with our channel members and things of that nature. I'm about to get to some spicy RB takes, or some names, not takes, names. Jerome Ford, you hate him. I like him. He's playing the 49ers. I'm not starting him. I'm sitting him. Are you starting him, Raz?
I am sitting him for the most part. I'm starting him if I have nobody else, which I am in this one league.
Hey, Jerome Ford has been a blessing to a lot of people. We just want to say, Jerome Ford and the Ford family, that we appreciate everything that you're doing for the RB community right now, because it's hard to find running backs. Dameon Pierce, I think he's terrible. I sold him in Dynasty for a 1st-round pick at his peak last year, and then he unpeaked. And then the guy that I sold him to was mad at me. He wouldn't even talk to me anymore. Dameon Pierce is playing the New Orleans Saints defense. I am not starting him ever. But are you starting him this week, Raz?
He is a sit. He is a sit.
Nobody likes that guy, man. He produces, but he's just regular. He's just a regular back, man. Miles Sanders, I think he's been terrible this season. He's playing the Miami Dolphins. It could be a potential game where Panthers are trying to come back, and that could eliminate this guy. And then also, he's not 100% healthy. Now, I'll tell you who I will start in deep leagues, and that's Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard is coming to take that backfield. I don't know when, but Miles Sanders is not looking good right now. It looks like a terrible free agent signing. He's averaging 8.8 points per game in fantasy. He has 190 yards rushing. Man, he lied to us, man. That Eagles offensive line, oh my gosh. Are you starting Miles Sanders?
I am not. No, I can't. Okay. I can't do it. I do think they're going to try to force him now. I think the Carolinas is going to try to force him, but no, I'm not starting him.
If they do, that'd be great for the few Miles Sanders shares that I have as my RB2. Javonte Williams, your guy, he's playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's expected to play in week 6.
Is he playing?
It says he's expected to play. With that being said, no. I have to go and remove Jaleel McLaughlin away from my lineup, because I didn't even know this guy was even available to play. But
he's not playing. I don't think he's playing.
Even if he plays, man, P-Ron has looked better than him. Everybody has looked better than him. Javonte Williams is more of a guy ready for next year. And we all knew it. We all knew it. We all try to force the issue in these redraft leagues and these keeper leagues, trying to sneak into Javonte into our lineup. And he has shown us that he's not ready to play football right now. He's still recovering. So he's a sit for me. Rachaad White is a sit for me. He's been terrible all year. He's averaging 11.6 points per game, but that's because of the 13 receptions that he has. Are you starting Rachaad White versus the Detroit Lions?
He is sitting for me. He's got to show us something. He's got to show us something.
Man, Jakobi Meyers. He is the number one receiver. I'm just kidding. Because these folks going to come for me off of Twitter. Jakobi Meyers has looked good this year. 25 receptions off of 36 targets, 274 yards receiving, and 3 touchdowns. He's averaging a whopping 17.6 points per game. Now, we know he missed some games. Yeah, we do know that. But he's looked good. And Jimmy G is still pissed off at Davante Adams for those things that he said before the season started. So he's gonna go more Jakobi Meyers than Davante. It seems. I could be totally wrong. Are you starting him this week versus the lowly New England Patriots, who just lost Christian Gonzalez for the season?
Absolutely. I'm starting him. And I don't think what you said earlier about DeAndre, about the whole quarterback receiver thing, I don't think that has anything to do with anything. But I do like Myers. I think Myers is on a revenge tour, man. Especially against that team. Listen, look out. Don't forget that part.
Yeah, I'm about to go to FFL and put him into my lineup. Thank you for letting me know. Mr. Raz, man, dropping nuggets out here. I forgot all about that. Yeah, he's going crazy. He's going crazy in these books. He's going to have one of them games where he gets like 9 receptions, 59 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's Jakobi Meyers, ladies.
He's going to play harder on this game than any other game. So we'll see how that works out.
We talked about this guy earlier, Jordan Addison. I think he is going to the moon, man. He's going to the moon. He has 19 receptions so far this season, 29 targets. I think those targets triple in these next few weeks. 249 yards. He does have touchdowns. He has been playing well alongside Jefferson. Now I think he can elevate himself into that wide receiver 1 role. And we say, is he really good enough to go against the best corners in the league? He's going to get targets, first of all. And when you're getting targets, it doesn't matter who's guarding you. Eventually, you start to connect. He is also going to have TJ Hockenson, who's really good. Osborne is one of those, I don't know, but I am starting Osborne in a few leagues. We already talked about this, start all Vikings. Are you starting Jordan Addison? And what do you think he can do this week?
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who's he playing again?
He is playing the lowly Bears.
Who's he playing again?
The Bears. Okay, so we've agreed.
Absolutely.
So we've agreed that we're going to start him, right? But my question to you is, how many?
Sorry, Bears fans, but start everybody versus the Bears.
So how many fantasy points do you think Addison can score? Let's just do that. Let's just say that.
I think he's gonna get. I think you can count on him for his average. You said his average is 17 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If that's his average, I think you can book that. I think you can book 17. And if that's the case, coming from him, that's perfect.
So he's averaging 12.4, but I think
he's getting at least 15 points. I think he's getting at least 15 points.
Like teams are getting 15 points or more on this team, and it's like, I mean, you had Curtis Samuel, Mike Evans, and Romeo Doubs are averaging at least 18.5 points per game. Curtis Samuel, man. We're talking about Curtis Samuel, man. We're talking about Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel's the number 1 out there. I don't know if you heard. He's the number 1. He is the number 1. If Sam's taught me anything, he's taught me that Curtis Samuel is the number 1 in Washington right now.
But
I didn't know that.
According to you, you say Terry's the guy regardless.
Listen, not anymore. Not after you sold me a bag of rocks with Terry McLaurin. You got me on that deal. I didn't know that Terry sucked now.
I sure did.
I was like, he's trash now?
I had to give you what you wanted. You wanted Terry. He wasn't even in the deal, but you wanted Terry. I said, here, you can have him along with Sam. Get you your stack. But the thing with Sam is he's going to feed the ball to whoever is open. That's what people fail to realize. That's what Sam does. Adam Thielen has been amazing this year. I mean, he's averaging 19.6 points per game, 38 receptions. I mean, 394 yards. He can end up with 100 receptions this year. And this guy is old. He's like 32, 33, something like that. And he's playing amazing. He's playing the Miami Dolphins, who can't cover anybody until Jalen Ramsey comes back. I think he has a great great game. Do you believe that or no?
I definitely believe that. I think Thielen is a great is a great play this week and a great play for the year until he eventually has a hamstring or some type that old guy injury, which at some point he'll have. But I definitely think he's a great play. I'm with Thielen. He's a start for me. That's gonna be my last take, brother. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, guys.
All right, man. All right, so guys, we have Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk to me is one of my favorite wide receivers this year. He's very consistent. He's averaging a consistent 14 points per game. Not 14.1, not 14.2 or zero point 0.5, just 14. He's just that consistent. He has 30 receptions off of 43 targets, 335 receiving yards, and one score. Once the touchdowns start to go up for this guy, I mean, this guy can end up as a potential top 15 wide receiver this year. I think he's a lock for a top 20 receiver this year. And he's playing the Jacksonville. I mean, he is on Jacksonville. He's playing the Indianapolis Colts this week, and I believe that he can do some damage versus the Colts. So I love Christian Kirk a lot. He's more consistent than Calvin Ridley. He might not give you the explosive plays or that mega game that a Calvin Ridley can give you, but Christian Kirk, when it's all said and done, you're gonna look and you're gonna see this guy between the top 15, the top 17 range. And if he starts to get some touchdowns, he can creep into that top 12. Yes, you guys can write that, you guys can screenshot that, you guys can screen record that, whatever. Yes, I said that Christian Kirk has a chance to be a top 12 wide receiver this year. Yes, I wholeheartedly believe that. Hollywood Brown, 42 targets so far this season, 25 receptions, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. This is the guy that nobody wanted in redraft. Nobody wanted this guy in Dynasty. He was a guy that was like to some trash. Like it's like unwanted. Like nobody wanted this guy. But when you look at it, this guy has been solid. He's been great this season. And he's averaging 15.2 points per game. And he's playing against a Rams team that doesn't really defend the pass well. This could be a game that could be a potential shootout. Is an interdivision game versus Rams versus Cardinals, so they know each other pretty well. Guys that I like this week, I like Zay Flowers a lot this week. We're still looking for that first touchdown. But one thing you can say is he's getting targets, 40 targets, 29 receptions, 317 yards receiving. So eventually Zay Flowers should start to pop if he can ever get a touchdown. And also what the doctor ordered is the Tennessee Titans. He's playing against Tennessee Titans who have been so bad this year. So this could be a game that he can possibly go off. Everybody goes off versus the Titans. The Titans cannot cover anybody. Josh Palmer, we talked about him earlier. I'm not starting him. I just don't trust him. Yes, he's playing Dallas. Yes, he has Justin Herbert. I just cannot trust Josh Palmer right now. He is a guy that has potential to do some things, but I'm only starting Palmer only if I'm in a deep league and I need help in that flex position. Josh Downs is another guy that I'm starting to like. With Anthony Richardson being out, I love Josh Downs even more. He had a great game last week. I believe he had like about 90-something, 95 yards or so, and he had about 6 or 7 receptions last week. He looked amazing. And whenever he plays with Gardner Minshew, man, he's going to look good. He's like that intermediate guy. He's that a slot guy. He's going to command a lot of targets. I love Pittman a lot this week versus Jacksonville, but give me Josh Downs. Josh Downs has the potential to lead the Colts in targets this week, especially with Gardner Minshew being his QB. Michael Gallup, me and Razman talked about him earlier. I think he's terrible. He's done nothing all season. Michael Gallup, can't trust him. He's a sit for me. Amari Cooper versus San Francisco, that's a sit for me, whether Deshaun Watson plays or not. Courtland Sutton versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I would start him because somebody has to score for Russell Wilson, and he's that guy. He has 3 touchdowns on the season. He's averaging 11.6 points per game. So Courtland Sutton could be a guy that potentially gets a touchdown for the Chiefs. For the Broncos tomorrow. Michael Thomas, I haven't trusted him all season, but he's had a modest 10.9 points per game. He's been solid, 26 receptions, 284 yards. He's a guy that you put in a super, not a super flex, but like a deep flex, like a 4-flex league or 3-flex league. He can be one of those flex guys for you, and he can potentially get you double digits. But I'm not starting him. I don't trust him. He's playing Houston. And I keep telling you guys, I think Houston has a pretty good offense. defense. Now, Terry McLaurin has been one of those guys that you just can't trust. He's averaging 11.4 points per game. I'm going to sit him. But every time when I sit him versus these NFC teams, he goes off. Historically, he goes off versus the Eagles. I benched him. He went off. Terry goes off usually versus the ATL Falcons. So this could be a potential breakout game for Terry. If you have other options, I have no problems with you sitting Terry. But Terry could have a breakout game versus the Falcons. He has another good matchup versus the Giants. So he's a guy that you could potentially go ahead and trade for right now that he's not producing. And he's a guy that could potentially produce for you. So with Terry, I'm half and half. 50% of my mind says start him. 50% of my mind says don't start him. So with that information, do with it what you must. Deebo Samuels versus the Cleveland Browns. They have a really good defense. They shut down everybody. Deebo's been great this year, 20 receptions for 302 yards and a score. I would bench him. Let's go ahead and hit tight ends rather quick. Cole Kmet, I'm starting him versus the Minnesota Vikings. He's looked good the last 2 weeks, and him and Justin Fields are starting to create a pretty good connection. Logan Thomas, I'm starting him over guys like Evan Ingram. These tight ends are just all random, but Logan Thomas has looked really, really good for the Commanders. Sam Howell trusts this guy. He's literally the number 2 guy on this team in terms of when you say targets or when you say a focal point, he's a focal point, and we saw what could potentially be moving forward in Washington. Like they love Logan Thomas. Sam Howell loves Logan Thomas. He was the guy that I didn't even believe in. I didn't think that Logan Thomas had anything left in him. But ever since coming back from injury, he looks good. He seems to be Sam's favorite target as safety valve. Outside of the fumble last week, Logan Thomas had played a perfect game. The Falcons are the number 2 in most fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends. And guys like Hayden Hurst, Laporta, Evan Ingram, Dalton Schultz all have scored at least 12.9 points per game versus these tight ends are doing that versus ATL. So there's no, at worst, the worst case scenario, Logan Thomas gets you 13 points out of that tight end position. That's amazing. You'll take it, right? Jake Ferguson, he's a guy that's been up and down, but he could have a potential good game versus the Chargers. I think it's CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson in that offense. Even last week, he looked good versus San Francisco, even though he only had 3 targets, 3 catches, 28 yards. But those plays, you just could see that Dalton Schultz role. He's a more athletic Dalton Schultz, and he could potentially come in big time for you this week. If you hit on the tight end, you most likely win your weeks. Jonnu Smith, he's dealing with some injuries right now, but if he's available playing against that Commanders defense, you might want to start him in a deep league. Also, Kyle Pitts had his best game of the season last week, and he's a guy that I'm willing to start. Most of these guys, Drake London, Jonnu Smith, Kyle Pitts, I'm willing to start any of those 3 versus Washington. Washington has shown me that they can't stop anyone, including that tight end position. Dawson Knox, I'm going to sit versus the Giants. It's just too much going on over there in Bills land. Hunter Henry started out great first 2 games of the season. He's still averaging 9.3 points per game. That's just how bad the tight end position is. Hunter Henry might come back to, he might just come back to what he was doing the first couple games. He is playing Vegas, but I think that Vegas is a defense that I'm playing this week. So I'm kind of torn. If you need a tight end and he's all you have, you start him with confidence. He could potentially get you a score this week. But at the same time, can we really trust Mac Jones? We don't know what's going on out there. David Njoku, he's recovering from being burnt, and I applaud him. I saw a picture of his face today. He's recovering, and shout out to him, man, to overcome what he's been able to overcome and still come out and play. I'm still not starting him, though, versus San Francisco, but I'm glad that David Njoku is doing well. Tyler Higbee, he's a guy I was excited about when the season started, but with Cooper Kupp coming back, and then Puka Nacua, and then Atwell, them getting rid of Van Jefferson helps, but man, there's not enough targets to go around. But he could be a sneaky good play, but I'm not starting him. I am starting Zach Ertz versus the Rams. I think that Zach Ertz could be the potential number 2. I trusted Michael Wilson last week for the Cardinals, and he did nothing. So you're looking at Hollywood Brown and Zach Ertz as the offense. Dalton Schultz has looked good last 2 weeks. He is playing a tough defense in the Saints. They give up the least 2 tight ends, so I won't start them unless I had to. This week, DSTs, you got guys like the Dolphins playing the Carolina Panthers. You want to start these defenses versus any rookie QB. You never know. Sometimes you strike gold. I also like I want to say the Commanders versus Falcons, but you just never know. You just never know. Commanders have stopped nobody, but Desmond Ritter is really, really bad, so you can go that route. You can also go the route of Texans versus New Orleans. Like I told you guys, I love that Texans defense. I think that defense is really, really good. And who knows? Just that game alone is going to be a low-scoring game. Texans and Saints is going to be a low-scoring game. You're looking at like a 17 to 16 type game or a 19 to 17 type game, something crazy along that line. I don't think neither team scores over 20. And then you want to start San Francisco versus the Browns for sure. So, guys, this is a show. I appreciate you guys watching Dynasty Overload, a fantasy podcast, streaming on the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. Please like, please subscribe, please share. You can also find the podcast on Apple, Dynasty Overload. Please follow us on TikTok, Dynasty Overload, and we're also on Instagram and Facebook as well, all Dynasty Overload. We will catch you guys on that next episode, and I hope that we were able to help you guys make some good decisions this week that could potentially help you get things back on track or keep things rolling if you've been getting wins. So catch you guys on that next episode. I'm out. Peace.